Welcome back to another Short Legacy League Vintage Edition, Jewel Shops vs. Esper Lurrus. A huge thank you to the Patreon supporters who are helping the league and YouTube channel. If you would like to become a supporter, please click on the link in the show notes. If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Vintage and Legacy Gamers, we are both on 7, and I'm on the play, leading off on a untapped Sporific Springs to cast an Ancestral Recall. Shout out to Kai Savatari and Hunter Sandlin. Kai for making the proxy Ancestral, and Hunter letting me borrow it. I hope you had a great time in Prague. All right, back over to Andres. Sorry about that. He force willed my Ancestral Recall. He's going to fetch a Tundra and do some own recalling for himself. Beautiful beta Ancestral Recall from Andres. He took it's a shame it's not black bordered seriously, and just decided to flex on all of us. So mine was gold bordered, his was black bordered. Follow up that with a ring and see if he has another Force of Will. So as most vintage gamers know, this is not a great matchup for Jewel because Esper can run quite a few counter spells that make it very difficult for the Jewel deck to work through. So just the count of the counter spells that they have in their main deck: 1 Spell Pierce, 3 Force Negations, and 4 Force of Wills. Also, they have a Mental Misstep as well to use that, and that is a very tough roundabout 8-9 counter spells in their main deck. So we can see that that's what is happening here. I'm forced into just copying the Lavinia, which doesn't really do anything for me. 1, because he has enough mana to hardcast a Force Negation, and 2, it stops him from playing artifacts and Force of Wills, but I have nothing left to actually do. I'm out of gas trying to resolve an Ancestral and also trying to resolve a One Ring. We have a Bowmaster that comes into play, and it's going to ping me, so that's going to turn off my PO that I have, even though the only artifact I do have is the Phyrexian Metamorph that's copying the Lavinia. And here's where the Lavinia deck really kind of takes over and kicks the crap out of Jewel. With the Lavinia, they also have the Wastelands that keep you from casting any of your large spells. Right now, I'm stuck with a Jewel in my hand, a PO in my hand. Even though I have the mana to cast the Jewel, I can't because Lavinia is stopping me from doing it. It's a very unfun Magic card. And he wastelands me off of my blue source, which puts me 2 blue sources back to be able to sink into stupor his Lavinia and try and go off from there. But we're in some trouble now. He has a Frog deployed along with his Bowmasters, so he is presenting good pressure as well as cantripping every single turn. With him attacking with the Lavinia, that shows that he has another one in hand, and he's not too concerned about losing it. Also, he's a Lurrus deck, so he could always buy Lurrus, play Lurrus, and then put the Lavinia into play from the graveyard. But as I suspected, he does have a Lavinia in hand, which is why I attacked with it, trying to force the block. Will put me in a difficult spot coming up, where I'm going to have to decide whether or not that's something I'm willing to block and take my chance on. So he did attack with a Frog. He did have enough mana or enough cards in hand to discard to kill my Lavinia if I decide to block the Frog. So right now I'm in the mode of just trying to keep my life total in a decent place. He's going to Treasure Cruise he's going to pitch because he can't use the Treasure Cruise on the Lavinia. He draws another card. He does have a hard cast Force Negation, so nothing's ever going to resolve that I have now that I'm seeing it. I feel this way already because I can't find another land to actually get anything going, but as well as he can just hard cast that Force Negation, which he shows me right there, and we have a good chuckle about that. And he does have the Force Pitch, and then he also has a Swords of Plowshare to take out my Phyrexian Metamorph as well. So coast is basically clear here. He can have me gain 2 life, pitch the last 2 cards to his hand size, and then he can let's see, that would be, there's no reason really to force either. He's in complete control of this game, but that would make it a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So can't quite kill me here, but he does attack with everything, and he has a force and a Lavinia in hand to basically seal this deal. Force of Will in hand as well. Game is wrapped up here. I do find a land, but I can't shock. Well, I guess I could. Now we're in a game 2 in a post-board matchup. So we have sideboarded, and all games moving forward will be sideboarded games. The Jewel deck stands a little bit better chance, in my opinion, post-board, even though he is rocking 2 Null Rods. He does bring in some additional counter magic, such as 2 Consigned Memories, a Mind Break Trap. He also is able to bring in 2 Null Rods, a Pithing Needle, and a Seal of Cleansing, all of which are very bad against me. So I do get to land that Pithing Needle a little early and name Wasteland. He does fetch in response to the needle being on the stack, and we're going to pass it back over to Andres here. So you haven't seen the deck list. It'll be after this match for the Jewel deck, but I can tell you what we did bring in against it and what we took out. So we took out the 4 Force of Wills, as well as the Grim Monolith. Actually, no, sorry. I'm not quite sure what I took out, because I didn't have the sideboard guide yet when we were playing this match. But traditionally, you'll take out 4 Force of Wills, put in 4 Kappa Cannoneers, leaving the Trinisphere, take out your Mana Vault and your Mana Crypt to bring in Defense Grid and Pithing Needle. And then there's one other card you take out as well to bring in Lodestone Golem. So, alright, so our ring is Spell Pierced, which seems to always be happening to me. But again, it is a deck that is playing quite a few counter spells, so it's tough for me to really work through it. So got it, found our Emerald, and now we can actually play our Kappa Cannoneer and hope it resolves. With a Force of Negation in hand, that does not hit creatures, even though that is an artifact creature. Kappa Cannoneer comes into play, sees itself come into play, gives itself a +1/+1 counter. So we immediately have a 5/5 on the board, and we're able to at least add some pressure to it. Seal of Cleansing is very good here, but he has to have 4 mana available to blow up the Kappa Cannoneer, and we have a Phyrexian Metamorph in our hand as well. So we're able to... I played that backwards. So yeah, I caught my mistake. We're going to play the Phyrexian Metamorph first. That way we get 2 counters on the Kappa Cannoneer, as well as being able to, when we do play when we play the key, both Kappa Cannoneers get +1/+1. The now 6/6, now 7/7 is unblockable and can attack for 7 damage. So we're in pretty good shape here, being able to beat this cleansing, Seal of Cleansing, to kind of just wrap this game up. I do need 1 artifact to push past a little bit more damage. He does have a Wasteland, but that's really about it. He can buy his Lurrus this turn. He can't buy his Lurrus this turn either. So he can Seal of Cleansing my Kappa Cannoneer when I attack by paying the 4 mana. So that is a plus for me. I do have a PO in hand now too, so it gives me a little bit better striking distance if I need to bounce anything back for whatever reason. Seal Cleansing, paying 4, and I decide that I'm going to PO back just that 1 Kappa Cannoneer and the Pithing Needle. Getting a Force of Negation out of Andres' hand. The Kappa Cannoneer will die, but now we're in pretty good shape to kind of just continue the game. So we're attacking for 6. He has 1 turn to figure this out. A Bowmaster, me not drawing an artifact, a Frog, a Lavinia, anything to stand in front of this Kappa Cannoneer that we have. He picks up a Null Rod, which is a little too late for him. And that is going to probably be game number 2. Very rare that I actually win these matchups against the Esper Lurrus deck, but it is a fun match nonetheless. So we have a dog through time. So even finding a Source of Plowshare is not going to be enough because we have a Ward 4. He did find a Lavinia, so he does have a blocker for at least a turn. So hangs on for 1 more turn, and I can give it unblockable for the key. Now you see the deck list.
If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.
Number 3, Andres on the play. We both kept 7 again. Hopefully I'm able to do what I did last game by getting some kappas down and work through his counter magic as well. So we do have the ability to try and put a ring on the battlefield on turn 1, knowing that we don't have any counter magic to back it up. Andres knows that as well because him and I work together on playing these matches. So yeah, me playing Saga is the better choice instead of the Mishra's Workshop. And we do play, when we're playing like this, to make the best decisions in the game as opposed to what we think is right. So being able to play that Workshop and then realizing that, no, I probably should play the Saga first is definitely the way I want to go. He's going to decide and consign the trigger on the Saga, so I cannot make constructs with it. That's a pretty big ouchie. But now that he's tapped out, that consign is not there to hit my my ring that I'm going to try and deploy here. Trying to play around the Spell Pierce, he doesn't play Daze, but he does have the Force of Will in hand, Force Negation in hand to stifle my ability to actually draw any additional cards. Again, once I feel like I may be talking to people who already know this, but the ring is just as important in this deck, in my opinion, as the jewels are, because it gives me a ton of card advantage. Turn 1, I get to draw 1 card. Turn 2, now we've Ancestraled. If we're able to find a Mismamo or a key to untap the ring, then we're really flying through the deck. Got a Wasteland on the Saga. No surprise there. Vexing Bauble probably would have been my choice if I was able to get it. Otawara in hand, found a key, so we're able to actually untap the Grim Monolith if it happens. Someone has found the legs through the camera and decided to kick it. And back over to Andres. So while we are developing our board, it's not really that great of a board kind of thing, especially when he finds his Ancestral Recall, picks up a Lotus, finds a Lavinia, and a Demonic Tutor. So if he has a way to get another land, he can DT, get the Lavinia in play, and then I only have 2 lands in play to play my spells. So we'll see what actions he takes here. Lotus first, he could DT or pass the turn. So he does have Force of Will in hand, so I'm not in great shape. I haven't found in a Sink into Stupor. Only 1 blue mana available. I can play I play the Sephoric Springs, and now I have Otawara if he gets a creature and or Null Rod to try and put me out of the game. So it's got a couple decisions to make with the Demonic Tutor, with the Lotus. It's got some really good stuff he can do here. I think he's going to sack the Lotus for black and cast that with 1 black floating. I could see him going to get either a land or a Lavinia and then being able to kind of lock me out of the game yet again, like what we saw in game 1. We did have a discussion to, what actually beats the Jewel deck, and Lavinia is a large piece of it. The counterspells are the other large piece of it. Me not finding shit is a pretty bad thing as well. I do have the Kappa, so I can try and get this deployed, but with a Force of Will in hand, as well as a Source of Plowshare. But looking at his hand now, we see that he's kind of out of gas in a way. That's the last Force of Will that was in his hand. He does still have a Force Negation with a Frog to pitch as well. Deck running very lean on lands, so everything he's drawing is a banger. And then once he has lands, he'll be able to deploy everything else. So an attack for 1 here. While I'm at 19 life, I am very much behind 18 life now. And he's able to just cycle cards out. Finds another Force of Will. So he has Force of Will, Force Negation in his hand again. So never safe. Pithing Needle. I think we named Frog on this. Which is smart, but he does have the Prismatic Ending hand, which you saw him move up to the front. So pass it back over. Not able to deal with this frog. I'm not going to be able to deal with anything he has in his hand for counter magic, and he's just going to be able to attack again, potentially pitch another spell. I decide to bounce it back to his hand, and it does slow him down for a turn. I'm hoping that, and now I'm thinking, all right, I'm in pretty good shape. He's only got one land. I have all these lands. I just need to draw something. Find the defense grid. He's able to force negation in. He has Mind Break Trap. Okay, so he can force negation, pitch the Mind Break Trap at this point because I'm top decking, so it's going to be very rare that I actually am able to chain multiple spells together unless I resolve a jewel or a ring or something along those lines. But just like clockwork, he's right back in it, picks up his land, and passes back to me. Untap my monolith at end step. Made that mistake plenty of times where I should have done it and did not. Looks like I just picked up another Sink in the Stupor, but it doesn't do me any good at the moment because I can't really do anything with it. He does have a Strip Mine that he just drew, so he can take me off of the blue mana yet again. But he's going to buy Lurrus. So I do have a turn to try and turn something around. Find a Lotus, which doesn't really do anything. Again, Kai Salvatore proxy. And we have a Lurrus on the battlefield. And I try and Sink into Stupor back to his hand, which does resolve. He has another land, but it probably wasn't the best thing to do. Because all he could get back there was Lotus. It's not like there was another frog. Actually, there's a frog in the graveyard, so shit, that does. Find a non-summer Japanese 4th edition island, which is pretty cool. And we've got a Lurrus in play. Gonna buy back the Lotus. Shows me his hand. I pack it up. See you in game number 4. Home to game 4. Both of us are on 7. I'm on the play, leading off strong with a Time Vault. Do not follow that up with a key. I do not pass go. But this felt like a pretty strong hand. I am still learning the deck. So if someone knows how this deck works better than I do, which I imagine is everyone, I'd be greatly appreciated being pointed in the right direction on how to play it a little bit more optimized up against the Esper Lurrus, because that's one of the main decks in our playgroup, as well as Doomsday/Storm is the other one in our playgroup. So, any ideas, leave a comment below. If you're still listening, great. If not, then I'm talking to myself and I'm having a great time anyway. It's always cool to look at pretty old Magic cards. I guess we should rephrase that to pretty Magic cards that are old. Andres with his Wasteland, like always, and a fistful of counterspells makes it difficult for Charlie to win. So, we are starting to get ready to start our Legacy League, which is what we're playing. We're playing our Vintage before Legacy League. Try and get a synthesizer out. Does not meet the requirements for Consign a Memory, but it does meet the requirements for Force of Will. So it's a twofold card that it's going to let me scry to and put something to the bottom if I need to, and then also have something out if I can resolve a 4-mana spell. Andre's drawing like a god over there, picking up his Lotus. He's going to Lurrus, or buy Lurrus, play Lurrus with a Lotus, replay the Lotus from the graveyard. Still with plenty of counter magic in hand and an additional land drop with a Time Walk. And back to his turn. So I'm sitting there thinking maybe I have a chance, but I don't. And Lotus is back. He has 7 mana available to him, so he can hardcast the Force Will, plus he has a Swords of Plowshare if I try and copy his Lurrus. Nothing I can buy back from the graveyard anyway, so not that big of a deal. But I do get to try and land another One Ring, which promptly gets counterspelled, or Force Negation, I should say. Hardcast Force Negation, still has 2 Force of Wills in hand, and the Lotus to hardcast, so he can literally stop all of my spells for the next 2 turns, which is pretty much what Esper Lurrus does, as you can see through the previous games. He did pick up a Null Rod, but he is utilizing a lot of artifact mana, and there's also no reason for him to cast it. I know he has it. but he also doesn't have to cast it. So he can just hardcast Force of Will by pitching the Lotus and tapping 2 mana to go along with that. So down 1 mana to try and even PO, which doesn't really do anything. I can only pick up 1 artifact. Now he picks up the Seal of Cleansing, which will basically just lock this game up. He'll attack for 3, play the Seal of Cleansing, blow up my Time Vault, and then he can replay the Seal of Cleansing from the graveyard with the Lurrus, and I'm not going to be able to deploy any more artifacts for the rest of the game, essentially. It passes it back over to me, take a draw, see if I can find anything. Found an Ancestral Recall. Going to try and recall myself, but I don't think it's really going to matter. So, oh, sorry, that's a Time Walk, not a recall. So another Kai Savatari, and we cast our Explorer. We found a Tinker. No artifacts to Tinker, so we're pretty much dead in the water here. I can hardcast a Kappa, but he does have the mana available to just kill it with the Seal of Cleansing, because he has 4 mana available. And back over to Andres. I'm at 7. Attack will put me to 4. Finds another land. He also has the Swords in hand with the Null Rod. Game pretty much wrapped up. Lotus. He can pay the 4 mana. Or he can even take a hit at this point from the Kappa. The Kappa would just be on blocking duty at the moment. He could also just Swords to Plowshare, paying 5 mana. But passes it back over to me. See what I'm going to do with it. I think I try and Tinker here as opposed to playing the Ring. He does have Force of Will available to him. So I am going to try and Tinker, getting rid of the Kappa. I probably should have attacked first with the Kappa to see if that would... Oh no, I didn't attack first with the Kappa because I didn't want the Seal of Cleansing to just kill it in combat. So now we find a Ring, and now that Null Rod that he has in hand is very good. So, untap draw. Can't kill the Ring. Does find a Strip Mine. Does have a Null Rod. So it takes me off of a blue. That stops me from being able to Ottawaru, which is actually in play, or sink into Stupor, which I believe is in my hand. So I can't actually do anything right now against it. You can Strip Mine me off of a blue mana, like I said, and that will basically be the end of it. So he does hit my Sink into Stupor, or Sulfuric Springs. So, yeah, the Springs card. And, yep, not able to get it there. All right, game number 5. Both on 7 still. Me on the play. And so far, you can tell how this match goes. We've got a Pithing Needle coming out. We're going to name Wasteland. And we have a Time Walk in hand. So next turn, we can Time Walk if we so please. So, Misty, back over to me. Try and get something going here. Got a Defense Grid. Nope, just kidding. We have a Springs. Now we're going to play the Defense Grid so we can play around the Spell Pierce because that's the right move. And he still has a Force Negation for it. So I think I also want to put a secondary Defense Grid in the main, and I'm going to try and Time Walk past this. He does have the Spell Pierce in hand if he wants to just completely stop me from doing anything. Untap, draw. Hope to be able to play this Karn this turn. I am playing around the Spell Pierce, so that is a plus. So he's going to fetch. He's going to Brainstorm. Emergency Brainstorm, see if he can find another Force of Will, Force Negation. And does he do it? He does not. So we've got a Karn in play. It's not a commanding position at the moment, but Karn does resolve. I don't have really anything in the sideboard worth bringing in that's not already in the deck. So I think I just roll up on it, pass it back over. We do have a Dismember in hand, which is going to be pretty critical here to get a Frog or something along those lines to ward that thing off. Find a One Ring, which is fantastic for us. Take another 2 damage, play a One Ring. See if he has a Force of Will or Force of Negation for us after he's done shuffling. and the ring resolves, so I'm able to pay or use the 2 more mana to put a Vexing Bauble into play without having to sacrifice any more life to the Ancient Tomb. So should be 1 counter on the ring as well. I believe I get that on there in just a moment. Picks up a Lotus, which is not great for him. And he almost has enough to kill the Karn right here. With the Karn being at 7, I believe it would put him down to 1 life if he wanted to pitch his entire hand. So 1, and then 2, and then 3, I believe, to the Orc. And that will move my Karn down to 3 from 7. So, and he does still get to draw a card because he's hitting the Karn. That is a relevant text on the frog. It says Planeswalker or opponent. So he does still get to connect. Plays a Seal of Cleansing. And we get to untap. And the biggest thing we're looking for here is another mana source. Because we have the Dismember in hand, we can take care of the frog, and we can lattice. Which is exactly what we do here. So we find a land, we find an ancient, we find a mana crypt as well. So this is going to be a painful few turns to get the board state where we want it. But we do have that option. So we're going to downtick Karn, we're going to get Microsynth Lattice, and we're going to try and lattice through this frog. So 4 life paid, and Lattice on the stack. So he can use that to kill a Vexing Bauble or the Pithing Needle or something along those lines. But he cannot kill the Lattice, because if the Lattice comes into play, then the sacrifice ability for the Seal of Cleansing is turned off. My thought process here was put the Lattice on the stack, see if we can get him to discard that last card to Frog, and then dismember it in response before it gets the +1/+1 counter. Then he's Hellbent, as well as not able to activate the frog. So we'll see the Seal of Cleansing pop off and hit the Pithing Needle, which will then turn on Wastelands potentially. He could hit the Vexing Bauble, but that doesn't really do too much for him. So he's trying to decide which one is the best to hit. I'm sure he'll watch these videos and tell us what he was thinking while that particular play was going on. So it looks like the Lattice resolves. And I pass back over to him. So knowing that he can't cast any spells, the Dismember is mine to use at my leisure here. So he attacks, and then I pay 4 more additional life and dismember the frog. And that pretty much wraps up the game. And I tell him I have still have a ring, but he quits anyway.
If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below.